Okay, folks, happy holidays. Merry Christmas to everybody out there.
Merry Christmas. Happy Festivus.
That's
This
right.
is the Festivus episode of the podcast. So at the end, we're going to do the airing of sports grievances. So I have a lot of long-standing grievances. I got a lot of problems with a lot of things going on with people in the media and with people in sports. So let's just actually, it's mostly the media, to be honest, now that I think about it. But we'll get into that at the end of the podcast.
So it's the season of giving, so we're going to give you all the stuff that we're pissed off about. Um,
Exactly. Yes.
Exciting NFL weekend. Hope everybody enjoyed it.
I mean, it was definitely, there's some more teams are, have clinched playoff spots, but there's still a lot of uncertainty, but, in the AFC and then at the bottom of the NFC. So,
Yeah. Yeah, so I wanted to open up with this. So Buffalo beat New England, kind of got some payback in there for what happened the last time they played.
and Buffalo was just kind of going up and down the field, and then basically, I mean, it's funny because some people were ripping on Mac Jones, and it's like, yeah, well, it was 26-21, and they had like a fourth down, and Josh Allen made a great play. So, it's not like the Patriots were like, I mean, Mac Jones didn't play that well, but
Yeah, no, the Patriots are a good team. I mean that was
yeah,
a high quality game. I mean, it was obvious in the game Buffalo was the better team.
yeah,
So I wanted to refer back to something. So when the Patriots beat Buffalo, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, and
yeah,
they the story surrounding that was, oh my God, I can't believe the Patriots threw the ball 3 times and they won. Wow, it's amazing. The Patriots are, Belichick's got them back, and the Patriots are they're in the driver's seat and all of this stuff.
yeah,
And I thought there was a tremendous overreaction to that game. Buffalo had the ball with 3 minutes to go near New England's goal line with a chance to win the game.
yep,
So I felt like yes, they played in a driving snowstorm. So the Patriots, instead of they ran the ball 50 times. So of course they gained 150 yards, because when you run the ball 50 times, that's usually
yeah,
what happens.
not to, yeah,
They ran the ball for 3.5 yards a carry. It's not like they were incredible running the ball.
yep,
And so I thought there was a bit of an overreaction, acting like Buffalo's, you know, um, not in New England's class, and Buffalo easily could have won that game. So I think it makes sense to me that Buffalo would come back and then, play like they usually do. Josh Allen
Well,
played
there
like,
was I thought Nick Wright has been overreacting to stuff with the Bills all year long. Like Josh Allen slipped when he's trying to do the quarterback sneak into the end zone to beat the Titans. And so, oh, well, he basically, and I made this, I don't want to go too in depth on this. I went into this in the last podcast. So it's basically like, oh, well, he screwed up, which means he's just going to screw up. It sounded like a Skip Bayless argument, like, oh, no clutch gene, and I'm just like, everyone needs to, like, when they lost to the Titans, and then they lost to the Patriots, and then they lost to the Buccaneers, and people are like, and I'm just like, guys, what are you talking about? Buffalo's really good. They basically almost won all of those games, probably should have. Okay. Now, do they need to start winning those games? Yeah. Okay. But to act like, oh, well, this is just an indictment of them, and that means they're not going to win these kind of games against these kind of teams. No, I don't think that's the case. Okay. Buffalo's definitely got some problems, but I mean, come on, they've proven that they're really good.
yeah. So I think, and like you said, this doesn't fall for the Patriots. It doesn't fall on Mac Jones. He's a rookie. Like you can't expect him to win these games for you. And Buffalo played. I mean, I'm sorry, New England played pretty well. They hung in there, but Buffalo's just a better team. They just have more talent. So I thought, I just thought it was a bit of a overreaction, and now Buffalo's in good position to win the division. So everyone went crazy. It was a big story 3 weeks ago, but like I've been saying, most of this NFL season, the individual games don't really matter that much.
Yeah,
So
it's the whole course of the season.
right. So yeah, I thought that that was a little bit overrated. So I was, it looks like, and it looks like the Patriots are going to make the playoffs. So they're still in a good place. My other kind of bigger picture take was that the Colts beat the Cardinals and basically did it the way they've been winning. Basically, they run the ball on offense, they play good defense, they keep the games in front of them, and they execute.
Yeah.
And I think that Carson Wentz has not been unbelievable. He certainly hasn't been, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers level
Right.
good, but he's been good enough. He's made the plays that are there when he needs to, and he hasn't made the gigantic mistakes.
Well, that's the
So,
other thing people forget. He's only thrown like 6 interceptions.
right?
So,
Yeah,
and I understand that some of the interceptions are really bad, but, he's only thrown, I mean, granted, they're obviously managing him a certain way because they don't want to give him too much and have him screw up the game. So,
yeah. I think they're like undefeated when he throws the ball less than 35 times. So,
that,
but I watch that team and I just go, Carson Wentz doesn't have like we're comparing Carson Wentz to the standard of a great quarterback. He doesn't have to be great. If Carson Wentz can play like Ryan Tannehill does,
yeah.
the Colts could win multiple playoff games.
And the thing is, people are forgetting the AFC. I mean, even the Chiefs, like I have concerns about, but especially all the other teams in the AFC that are in the playoff mix, like they've all got problems. Buffalo's got problems. They're not really that good running the ball. They had a significant injury on their defense. Cincinnati, they haven't made the playoffs with this group of guys before. Joe Burrow's never been in a playoff game before. Okay, the Chargers, I mean, they're obviously very talented, but they're really inconsistent. They just lost to Houston. Okay. So, and again, Justin Herbert looks like a really great quarterback. He's never played in the playoffs before. Mac Jones, he's a rookie. He's never played in the playoffs before. Okay. So, like, people are like, oh, well, Carson Wentz isn't like, maybe you don't need to be elite to win a couple of playoff games, depending on the matchups. I mean, I would still kind of give Kansas City the edge. Again, I still have concerns about them, but I'm just like looking at it like, they've been through this before. They're probably going to get the 1 seed. They're only going to have to win 2 games. They're going to be at home. Like their defense has been playing well. Okay, I can see that they would be the favorites in the AFC. But these other matchups, like it just kind of, again, it depends on the matchups. It depends who's hot and who's playing well. And then weather could be a factor depending on where the games are. So.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, those were the kind of my main 2 takes. I've got a bunch of other stuff, but what anything interest you that you wanted to bring up about the NFL games?
So I guess the 49ers are probably done as far as making the playoffs, given that Jimmy Garoppolo has a broken bone and or what does he have?
He has a broken thumb and a torn ligament.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends. They have to play the Houston Texans, so they could still win that game even with a backup, and they have to play the Rams. They could still get in the playoffs just because after the top 5 teams in the NFC, the rest of it is a mess.
Right.
So they can still get in the playoffs, but I kind of that was one of those things. I was on them to start the season. I thought they could really be something, but
they sort of turned it around. But now it's
the Colts. The Colts I believed in. The Colts are starting to show why I believed in them. The 49ers, that game they lost to Tennessee last Thursday was a bad loss, and I'm not sure. They're just too inconsistent.
All right, so let's get the Dolphins out of the way, which I know may sound kind of weird given that they just won their 7th game in a row, but like they have to. It's really funny because I give them a lot of credit for winning 7 games in a row. I mean, it's the NFL. You win 7 games in a row, like okay, that's really good. And it's the fact that it's never happened once in a season where you lose 7 in a row and win 7 in a row. Like, that's pretty awesome. And they've turned the defense around. The defense is playing much better than it was at the beginning of the year. But that's kind of it. The offense has been, they scored 13 points on offense against the Saints. Tua, the last 2 games, there's been a few throws you go, that was good. The rest of it's been there's been some bad interceptions. There's been some missed throws that could have been big plays, or just kept drives going. So, and they ran for over 100 yards against the Jets. Well, it was against the Jets, and also I looked it up. Duke Johnson had 3.5 yards after contact in that game, which means the offensive line wasn't doing that well. He was just making some people miss and breaking some tackles and doing some stuff, which credit to him. I mean, getting 100 yards that way is pretty tough. But yeah, it was funny because I thought Colin Cowherd had a pretty good segment on his show yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yesterday was Tuesday, right? Yeah, reacting to the Monday night game. He's saying there's a difference between quarterbacks you can win games with and quarterbacks that are elite that you could potentially compete for championships with. And Tua really hasn't done anything over the past 2 months to convince us that he's an elite quarterback. I mean, he's got the next 2 weeks he's playing the Titans and the Patriots. So, if he plays well against them, then maybe I think a little bit differently. But yeah, it's just, I keep seeing these things where people when the first thing you talk about with your quarterback is, man, his completion percentage is through the roof. That shouldn't be the first thing you talk about. If it's one of the things you talk about, okay, but completion, and it's funny because I texted you on Monday night, during the Monday night game, I'm like, all these people talking about Tua's completion percentage, and I'm like, yeah, and that's gotten him 15 touchdowns and 9 interceptions this year. So, I mean, I don't know if I necessarily want to put a number on it, but if you can't get close to 30 touchdowns, then I don't know that you can consistently win games for several years in a row, because I think defenses will just figure you out. Because Tua right now, he's having to do all this quick stuff, which to his credit, he should do because the offensive line sucks. But yeah, there's not, I haven't learned too much. I've learned there's a certain formula they can win with this year, but as we all know in the NFL, people figure stuff out, and you have to there has to be a next level of things. And we haven't seen that. It still could be there. I don't think he'll ever be an elite quarterback, but I think he could be a quarterback that you could win games with him potentially year after year. But some of that's not on him. Again, it's the offensive line and them being able to run the ball. So,
yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. I think, yeah, look, I mean, they won that Saints game. The Saints were playing a fourth string quarterback. I mean,
they won that basically, you probably felt the same way. Once they returned they got that pick 6, I'm like, okay, the Dolphins can win this game. If they're playing a mediocre to bad team and their defense scores a touchdown, they really should win those games. So,
yeah, I think, it's a 7-game winning streak, but let's not pretend that they've beaten, a bunch of playoff teams.
Jets twice. They beat Houston. They beat Baltimore when Lamar Jackson was struggling. They beat the Saints with a 5th-string quarterback. They beat Carolina, who God knows what the hell's going on with their quarterback situation. So, yeah, I mean, the games that they played against real teams, Buffalo blew them out. The other game, I mean, I'll give them credit. They were competitive in the first half against Buffalo, and that was mostly their defense. But, the Patriots were figuring things out at the beginning of the year, so that doesn't really count much for me. And then, I'm trying to think of the other games. They played a close game against the Raiders, so I'll give them credit for that. But, yeah, it hasn't been – they should have – I mean, again, it's crazy because the NFL there's so much parity in the NFL. If they had just beaten Atlanta or Jacksonville or both, they'd probably be going to the playoffs. And those were games they probably should have won.
Not only
go ahead.
Not only could they go to the playoffs, they could win the division.
Exactly.
If you just flip one game.
Yeah. Again, I think a couple of podcasts ago, I gave my really highly cynical take of the Dolphins, where it's like, look, the way if they improve the offensive line, they could potentially be a team that, wins 8 games a year, maybe a couple more, depending on some close games or depending on the schedule, having a bunch of teams you can beat. Them beating elite teams or competing with elite teams is just, I don't see it, So, but I mean, look, and I'll give the coaching staff credit. I mean, they turned the defense around. The offensive line, we were complaining about it the other night. We've been complaining about it all year. Why don't you leave more people back in to protect the quarterback? Given how bad, I mean, they were taking holding penalties in the Monday Night Football game because they can't block.
Yeah, and I texted you. Well, at least they're holding now. At least they're not completely missing guys and just getting free rushers. Like their improvement is, well, we're holding. We're at least breaking the rules to make sure the quarterback doesn't get hit. Which is, I guess, it's supposed to be an improvement. But yeah, this is a pet peeve. This has been a problem the entire season. We're 15 games in, and the offensive line we still don't have some kind of plan to give the quarterback any kind of protection.
That's why I think my overall take on this Dolphins regime now is the coaching is not terrible. It's not awful. It's not, well, there's aspects of it I really don't like. It's not necessarily terrible, but they're not great. Okay? They haven't done anything to convince me they're great. They've convinced me that they can be competent in certain aspects of the game, but
Yeah, I've said it a million times. It's not hard to be average in the NFL.
Yeah,
and they're average. It's actually kind of difficult to be the Detroit Lions or the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's
right.
That takes a lot to be that bad.
That's not knowing what the hell you're doing.
Yeah. So listen, we're gonna find the good news is for the Dolphins, we're gonna find out what they're made of. They got to play Tennessee on the road. They play the Patriots at home, and we'll see if they're for real.
And again, we'll talk about this more in the offseason, but I'll just say, looking ahead to next year, because I don't really care if they make the playoffs or not. I mean, it'd be cool, I guess, but they're not going to beat anybody. But looking ahead to next year, I'm basically, like I said this before, like, if you're going to trade for Deshaun Watson, do it, okay? If you're not, Tua's your quarterback and improve the offensive line, and then by Thanksgiving next year, if Tua's the starting quarterback, we should see if there's if the ceiling on him moves up a little bit from this year, because that might be possible if the offensive line is better. He's not going to be an elite quarterback, but if the ceiling moves up a little bit, then you could see, all right, we could potentially win with this guy for a few years. But, we'll see.
Yeah. So let's see. What else did I have as far as the NFL goes? Man, the Arizona Cardinals are completely falling apart.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell. I don't know.
They look like they're, from watching them, they look like they're not sure what to do. They're obviously missing DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
But their offense is really a problem. The defense hasn't been that bad, but they're just there. I mean, when you're having, you can't get more than 20 points, and they had trouble scoring against the Detroit Lions. That thing has completely fallen apart. Cliff Kingsbury has not done well in December. So they're right now they're in danger of not winning. They're going to make the playoffs, but they're in danger of losing out on the division to the Rams. So the Rams they struggled against Minnesota, but
through 3 picks.
Yep, through 3 picks, but they managed to win. So
yeah,
I think they're definitely better than they're the best they've been all season right now. But it still might be a bit of an issue for them. Let's see, what else did I have? Joe Burrow was incredible in that game.
525 yards.
I've been singing his praises the whole season, and it is as we've said before on here, it's pretty difficult to come on here and be happy about Tua when we're watching Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert do what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's pretty difficult to watch 2 guys that were in the same class, one guy drafted before him, one guy after him, that are home runs. That teams that
it's one of those things where people can go, oh well, Tua's won 7 games in a row and his completion percentage is what it is, and I'm just like, yeah, but guys, are you watching these games? Do you think that Chiefs game, do you think Tua would have any chance in that game when the Chiefs are playing the Chargers? Do you think he would have any chance in that? Do you think he would have had any chance against the 49ers in that game? I mean, the Bengals lost, but Burrow made some throws to tie the game and send it to overtime. Do you think Tua is capable of that at all? Has he ever shown you anything like that? Have we seen I mean, have we seen a game-winning drive from Tua yet? Maybe, but it was probably in a really close. It was probably for a field goal or something. So, like, guys, it's not that I'm saying Tua is terrible. He's not terrible, but like compared to that, there's a if you can't see that there's a wide gap, I don't know what to tell you because you're either willfully ignorant or you're just not watching and paying attention. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. So you believe in the Chiefs the most as far as AFC contenders? You think it's their conference to lose?
Yeah, I mean, who did they just play? I'm trying to remember who they just played
Pittsburgh.
on. Pittsburgh. All right, Pittsburgh's not very good, but I mean, I think that they're not as explosive as they used to be, obviously, but their defense is good. Mahomes has stopped turning the ball over like crazy from the beginning of the year. And, I just think they've been there before. They've got the experience. They have, outside of Belichick, they've probably got the best coach in the conference. I mean, Baltimore, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. And even if they do, like, what the hell do you have, right? I mean, but yeah, so I think you kind of got to have them as a favorite. I mean, because they've been there before. And I had them there at the beginning of the year, and then I thought they were going to miss the playoffs because they were playing like crap, But they've turned it around. So anytime if your quarterback is Patrick Mahomes and you're coached by Andy Reid, and you got a stable organization, I probably shouldn't just be so quick to say you're going to miss the playoffs and completely doubt everything. But yeah, probably out of everybody out. But again, it's not like I'm going to give them the edge, like it's not like some huge edge. Like if they were to play the Chargers, the Chargers got a really good shot to win that game, even in Kansas City. So the Bills, I would still give the Bills a shot. Maybe even the Bengals. I mean, they haven't been there before, but I mean, I still think they're more vulnerable than they've been. So, but I still think that would probably pick them as a favorite.
Yeah, I think I like Kansas City, and I think Buffalo, and if Tennessee gets Derrick Henry back and the Colts, I think
I forgot about that. Yeah,
those teams have a shot. But I think overall, you look at the Kansas City on both sides of the ball, they've probably got the best quarterback. So they probably check all the boxes. The NFC, Green Bay still got the 1 seed, but looks like they're kind of fading a little bit.
Yeah, they kind of hit a stride, and then they're kind of, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I would still have them as the best team, with the Bucks and the Rams, like kind of right there. And then who else? I'm trying to think of who else.
Cowboys and the Cardinals.
You can make a case for the Cowboys. I'm not really buying it, but you could make a case for it. I mean, they're going to win that division, so they'll get a home playoff game. They'll probably have a favorable matchup there. And then, look, if they can run the ball, and if they're in a game and they're running the ball well, then okay, I think it's kind of on the table,
Yeah, I think Green Bay struggling a little bit. I think they need to get some guys back on defense. If they can get their guys back, I do like them the best, the way they match up with these other teams. And Tampa has the same issue. They need to get some guys back healthy if they're going to beat Green Bay. But there's still Kansas City and Green Bay have the 1 seeds now, but they're all up in the air. They need to win.
Yeah, there's this, and then, to be honest, this is a good job by the NFL adding the extra game, because I definitely think there's when they show like who's in the hunt for the playoffs, it's been like a bunch of teams every week. So it's like, okay, there's a bunch of fan bases that still feel like they got a shot, However realistic that really is, but based on their record, they still feel like they got a shot. So this has been good,
Yep.
Having the extra game, and then also adding the extra team to the playoff, the extra 2 teams to the playoffs.
Yep. So the next 2 weeks we have no Thursday night games, no Saturday night games. It's Sunday, all Sunday, then one Monday night game.
One Monday night game, and then all Sunday. Yeah.
Yep. So this is going to be should be pretty good stuff. I'm excited. We got 2 weeks to go. We finally hit somewhat of the stretch run. So the other thing I want to talk about before we get to the sports grievances was, college football playoffs are on Friday.
Yep.
Well, first of all the bowl games getting canceled. I mean, I think we've had
Yeah.
3 or 4 games canceled so far. And I just read today, I think, I can't remember who it was. Somebody else canceled today. So, or the day before they were supposed to play a game. So, yeah. So there obviously is some concern that, these games might not get played. We'll see.
Right.
We'll see what happens. We'll find out in a couple days.
Oh, so I just found a list of some of the bowl games that have been canceled. So the Hawaii Bowl between Hawaii and Memphis, the Military Bowl, the Fenway Bowl, the Arizona Bowl, and the Holiday. I didn't realize there were that many bowls that had, nouns like that. Military Bowl, Boston College versus East Carolina. Because when I think of the military, I think of Boston College and East Carolina. So yeah, several games got canceled. And were these this was canceled because of COVID, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
COVID
Yeah.
or a combination of, guys transferring or guys going to the NFL, guys opting out of bowl games. Like
Yeah.
I think Pittsburgh's playing Michigan State in a couple days. And
Right.
tomorrow night, I think, and Pittsburgh's quarterback is going to the NFL, and Michigan State's running back is going to the NFL. So when you add up all the things together, I don't think it'll be a problem for the playoffs because most of those guys are not. There's not going to be opt outs for those
Yeah.
games. Those guys are going to play, and I don't think they'll have enough COVID cases for it to matter. But anyway, so yeah, so Friday, the first game is Alabama Cincinnati. Well, how do you feel about that game? What do you see?
Well, I mean, you're giving Saban all that time to prepare, so it's like we said a couple weeks ago. Like if Cincinnati was playing Alabama the next week after the playoff teams were selected, then maybe Cincinnati would have a better shot. But I just think maybe they keep it close early. You never know. Maybe they make a couple plays, and it's a close game by the end of the first quarter or midway through the second quarter or at halftime. But over the course of the game, Alabama's probably just going to, I don't think they're going to be able to deal with Bryce Young and those receivers. And yeah, they'll probably win handily by at least a couple of scores. So.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think, the only way Cincinnati, in my opinion, the only way Cincinnati would have a chance in this game is if they really came up with a great game plan and changed, adapted some of the ways that they play. And usually in college football,
to have some trick plays and just some, like if you get a tipped ball and you intercept it and you get a nice return on the interception, like something like that has to kind of happen to kind of give them extra possessions and give them more of a chance. But hey, I hope I'm wrong. I mean, it'd be nice if we had a really competitive game that went down to the wire,
Yeah,
But,
I just, I think Cincinnati will be competitive for a half, and then I think Alabama will pull away at some point because when you give a better team with a better coach and better athletes extra time off,
it's been like what 3.5, 4 weeks.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a problem.
that's tough.
Yeah, the other game is Michigan Georgia, which I think has a chance to be a really good game.
Yeah, yeah. Particularly if Michigan can run the ball, and they don't get now. Georgia doesn't seem like a team that really blows people. Well, they've been blowing people. They were blowing people out before the Alabama game, but I mean their quarterback situation kind of makes you wonder. So yeah, Michigan I would think would have a shot in that game.
Yeah, I mean I think both teams try to control the game with their defense. So whichever team succeeds more at controlling the game with their defense and running the ball probably wins.
Do you think Georgia's going to switch quarterbacks?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think they'll stick with Bennett, and they'll try to, try to make some plays running around. I think, but I think it's just a whole different animal when you're playing against Alabama's offense versus Michigan's offense. I just think Georgia will be able to do what they do on defense, and I expect Georgia to win the game.
Yeah. So we'll get Bama and Georgia again, probably in the national championship game. But for all you people disappointed in that, I mean, what do you want me to tell you? They're probably the two best teams if they end up, meeting.
Yeah, and they'll expand the playoff. So this won't be this way forever.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying that Cincinnati's carrying the expectations of all the other teams, all the other group of 5 teams. I think the media may say that, but I don't really think the players in there really give a crap about the other group of 5 teams. I think they're just trying to win for their team. I think that's a sort of a media driven. If that becomes a story, it's a media driven story. I don't think that's the coaches or the players really care.
Yeah. Well, there'll be a lot of talk about it, and everybody has their own. The thing is, with college football, everybody just makes their own assumptions and then tries to tell you that it's true based on no evidence at all. So,
Yeah.
everyone's going. If Cincinnati loses, they argue, well, they shouldn't have been there anyway, and then this will come up next year. Well, you can't put a team like that in because fans don't get to vote on this. Thank goodness. So,
Yeah.
all right. Anything else before we get to our sports grievances?
I was trying to think. Not really. I think we'll probably be talking more NBA over the next month or two because now it's after Christmas, so now you can kind of start to wonder. I mean, it is kind of interesting. Have you seen Cleveland is 20-14?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. And they're playing like big lineups. So I think the Eastern Conference is kind of interesting this year. I mean, we'll get into it, in future podcasts, but it's interesting now because, obviously Milwaukee and Brooklyn are probably at the top, right? And then you got Philadelphia, who we don't know if they're going to trade Ben Simmons or what they're going to do yet. There's still time to do that. Then you got Chicago, who's been a fun team to watch. You got Cleveland's playing well. You got Miami. You got trying to think of who else. I know there's a few other teams in there, but yeah, the rest of the Eastern Conference outside of the top, I think, is kind of interesting. The Knicks, they're still playing well. They got Thibodeau. They just play really hard. So yeah, I think that'll be fun to talk about in the next couple of months as we get closer to the All-Star break. So.
Yeah, it's really obviously COVID has messed a lot of stuff up. And so it's really hard to get a read on some of this stuff.
By this time next year, that won't be that much of an issue because usually the way variants develop with viruses, they become more contagious but less severe because the virus is trying to stay alive. So like Omicron is less severe than Delta, which means if there's more variants after this, they'll probably be less severe. And by that point, pretty much everybody's been vaccinated or boosted or whatever, or they've already had it and recovered from it. So hopefully we can kind of, by this time next year, most of the stuff will be kind of behind us looking into 2023. Hopefully,
Yep.
So, all right. Now it's time for some sports grievances.
All right, folks. So just recap. So anybody seen there's a Seinfeld episode back in the day where George Costanza's father came up with a new holiday called Festivus. And
he said that he was in a toy store. He said a long time ago he was in a toy store shopping for something for George for Christmas, and he reached up to try to grab the last toy, and someone grabbed it before him. As I really blows down upon him, I thought there had to be a better way. So he invents his own holiday, which Kramer finds really fascinating, because he's like Frank is so prolific. He invented a holiday, So they and then it's just the whole episode's really funny because then George's dad comes to the coffee shop and he's got the pole and George is like, what the hell is this? He's like, we're doing Festivus again. He's like, no. And Jerry's like telling Elaine about it and they're all laughing their asses off about it. So anyway, but then when they actually have Festivus, they're sitting around the dinner table and the first part is the airing of grievances. So, and George's father says, I got a lot of problems with you people, and now you're going to hear about them. So since we're a sports podcast, obviously, I came up with some long-standing grievances, complaints. I feel like you're going to think I'm really eccentric after listening to this list of things.
All right, so what we're going to do is we'll go back and forth. So you'll give one, then I'll give one.
Okay.
This is the special gift for all our listeners out there.
That's right. Happy holidays, people. Happy Festivus. Let's see. So I guess I'm trying to think which one I'll go with first here. College football. The games are too long. Fix it. Okay. You got committees, you got smart people, you got tons of money going into this. How the hell are these games taking 4 hours? I watch an NFL game within an hour and a half, it's almost halftime. College football, it takes like 2 hours to get to halftime. Okay. You get all these damn commercial breaks, you get all these reviews, you get the targeting penalties, you get all this other stuff. Come on, fix it. Okay. Run the clock after first down. Stop stopping the clock, maybe. I don't know. Do something. Okay. You're smart people. Figure it out. It's really ridiculous.
Yeah, and you know what? It's so funny. That was my number one on my list too.
What did you have to say?
Yeah, I've been complaining about this for 5-6 years now. It's gotten completely out of control. Major college football games, especially bowl games, especially playoff games, are 4 hours. Okay? This is absolutely ridiculous in a game where there's 15 to 20 minutes of action, of actual action, that we take 4 hours to watch it on television. Like you said,
soccer games in that period of time.
Oh, exactly. It's ridiculous. And when I was going to talk about soccer later, but so yes, they need to adapt that rule about stopping the clock after first downs. I read something where they said maybe wait until the last 5 minutes of each half to do it. The halftime in college football is 8 minutes longer than the NFL is. NFL halftime is only 12 minutes. And the college football halftime is 20 minutes because the bands have to play. So I understand that.
Look, I understand that you band geeks, you need some exposure, and it's probably the highlight of your week. It's probably the highlight of your college career. Okay. But I mean, come on. Really, we gotta wait. We gotta wait around for the marching bands to play. Can you guys just like play out in the parking lot or something?
They play before the game. I think I'm not necessarily advocating we should take that away. I get the marching band as part of the pageantry of college football. I understand that. But it's not like we see that on TV. So maybe, for television, it's terrible because it doesn't really matter to us. We're not watching the bands. We're watching the next Budweiser ad or whatever it is. So, yeah, there are definitely some solutions. They need to have a time limit on the replays because the replays are just completely out of control in college football. And so, yeah, that's a major problem. All right, so I'll go next. So, I mean, this to me is a criticism of all sports. We have too many regular season games. Too many.
Yeah.
We don't need, we certainly don't need we don't need for sure 162 baseball games. There's no reason for that at all. And we definitely don't need 82 NBA games. Like baseball, we could use 120, 130 maybe. Basketball, we could probably do 65. We would be just fine. Football, we're doing 17 now, which is just kind of, we're basically on the edge of where the attrition is just too much. I think if we're going to do this many games, we need to have 2 bye weeks.
Yeah.
But, especially these sports like basketball and hockey where they have big expanded playoffs. Like, we definitely don't need, half the league makes the playoffs anyway. We certainly don't need, that many games. So this is the problem with the NBA is why some of the fans especially get mad is because now that the players don't even play all the games anyway, we're really losing out. Yep. So we could definitely lose a whole bunch of games and the sports would be just fine. You got to get what I am for as a general rule in sports. I want more teams in the playoffs, less regular season games.
Yes, more urgency. It's 2021, people, it's about to be 2022. More urgency, guys. This is not the early 1900s where it's like, oh yeah, baseball. There's no clock. We don't know when the game's going to end. No, we got all these games, and we're just no. Okay, we got too much going on. We got too much. There's too many options on TV. If a game's going on too long or it's boring, I can turn on Netflix. I can turn on Hulu. I can turn on Amazon Prime. I can turn on HBO Max. I can turn on something else on cable TV. Like, come on.
Especially with YouTube now, where you can watch an entire NFL game in 15 minutes.
Yeah, with all those highlights. Yeah, those are awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, you're up.
Let's see here. Okay. Um, this is kind of something that's bugging me with with grammar and the English language in general. Stop abbreviating stuff or coming up with nicknames for stuff when you don't need to come up with it. A championship is a championship, not a chip. Okay, it's a fucking champion. I'm just really, it's a championship. Okay, don't come up with nicknames. Just world champions, champions, Super Bowl champions, whatever. Championship. You know, uh, you could say trophy, okay, fine, because that's something we already use. But yeah, we don't need all these different words for stuff. Stop coming up with abbreviations for stuff that doesn't. Now I need to I'm. You see people talking about stuff, and you're like, eventually it reaches a point where you're like, what the hell are they talking about? They're using all these abbreviations and all these other words for stuff. Can we just say a word that means what it means? Championship. We know what that means. Okay. Chip, I don't know what that, like, a lot of people are like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, can we stop trying to be cool? Can media stop trying to be cool? Just call it a championship.
Yeah.
If the players want to refer to it as a chip, that's stupid, but fine, go ahead. I'm not going to stop it. But that's mainly a media criticism.
Yeah, and listen, abbreviations for the written word, not for the spoken word.
Yeah.
Why are we abbreviating the spoken word? What's the difference?
It's just one of those things where it's like, look, don't, if there's a word for something that's descriptive of a thing and it makes you hear the word, you instantly know what it is, don't then replace it with something else, because it just, you're taking away the impact, and then there's more confusion, and it's like, what are you referring to? And it's like, I don't know what you mean.
So you're not into calling the national championship the Natty?
No. A scholarship is a scholarship, not a
Scully.
Okay?
Scully.
No, just cut it out, okay? No, you're national champions, or you're the college football playoff national champions, or the college football playoff champions, whatever it is.
Okay, so my next one was NBA replay sucks. Okay?
Yes.
It's absolutely ridiculous. We do not need to review every single out of bounds play. I realize it only happens in the last 2 minutes of regular season games, but in the playoffs, it's a disaster with replay.
Yes.
We're replaying all these stupid out of bounds calls. Honestly, does it really matter if the ref gets it wrong once in a while? Like, we're not changing games with this. Whose hand did it go off of? And we have to slow it down. And, these playoff games take forever to play the fourth quarter because of this. So, yeah, we need to and the challenges on the block charge calls, like, what are we doing? Like, what exactly are we doing here?
Yeah, can we just, it's a judgment call. They're going to get some right, some wrong. Can we just,
Yeah, there's so many calls in an NBA game. We need to just, we need to streamline this. It's a disaster. It ruins it for, that Phoenix, what was it, the finals game? Or the Clippers game? Phoenix and the Clippers.
Against the Clippers, yeah.
Yeah, it took a half an hour to play the fourth quarter. Or the last 5 minutes of game time took 25 minutes.
Oh, and then, remember, when you have all these breaks, guess what happens? You're basically giving these teams an extra timeout. And so that actually became an advantage for Phoenix in I believe it was game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. They were able to set up a play that basically won them the game. And they didn't have any timeouts left. So that's,
All right, go ahead. What do you got?
Let's see. Oh, okay. Here we go. Look, I'm going to sound like a grammar, a grammar Nazi, or whatever the word you want to use is. Look, Adrian Wojnarowski is a well-known NBA reporter. Okay, he breaks a lot of stories. Everybody kind of knows who he is, but his last name is kind of hard to pronounce. I'm surprised I just got through it when I said it about 20 seconds ago. Okay, so don't try to pronounce it. Just say Woj. Just say, if he tweets something about a trade or something, Woj bomb. We all know what that is. You don't need to try to, listening to Colin Cowherd try to pronounce people's names in sports is hilarious. He'll mispronounce somebody's name like 5 different ways. I've heard Adrian Wojnarowski, Adrian Wojnarowski, all these, just say Woj, okay? Same thing with Giannis, okay? If you say Giannis, we know who you're talking about. There's not a bunch of famous people named Giannis. Don't try to pronounce his last name if you can't really pronounce it. I can barely pronounce it. Antetokounmpo. I think that's right. I might have even got it wrong. So just say Giannis. Just say Woj. Now, the thing I said earlier about, championship, chip, if you can't say championship, come on, that's pretty easy. It's not like saying Giannis or Wojnarowski. Okay, just make your lives easier. We know what you're talking about, and anybody who's watching these shows, like, they're gonna know who Woj is. They're gonna know who Giannis is. Like, come on.
So you're good with abbreviating it if it's a really hard word to say, and you don't want to have people butchering people's names.
Just a generally really hard word to pronounce. Just don't butcher the guy's name. Don't go, oh, I'm going to try to pronounce this and I'm going to butcher. Don't butcher it then. Just abbreviate it. You just say something so we know what you're talking about.
All right, I'm down with that. So this is I've got a college football criticism for me next. We need more good college football games. Like, this is obviously a bigger picture point. College football needs
Power 5 teams playing against roast beef Tech and East, West, North, South, Western Louisiana State.
Yep. Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous. Like, we only get a handful of games, and there are weeks where we'll have one, maybe two good games because nobody else is playing anybody else. So yeah, I think that as a overriding theme, college football needs to have somebody in charge. They need some kind of CEO or management team or something to fix some of these things because it's just ridiculous. Where Alabama gets to play 3 or 4 or 5 just meaningless games against either teams that are at the bottom of their conference like Vanderbilt, or they're playing the Citadel or
fewer
Troy State.
Games and more meaningful games.
Yeah.
So if you cut it down to fewer, there's going to just by doing that, you're going to have more meaningful games because there's going to be fewer games. But you need games against better opponents.
Yeah. So it's just kind of it's really disappointing that we can't get because there could be so many good games, and hopefully that'll change it. They expand the playoff. Hopefully that'll leave some room.
Because then you won't be worried about losing one game and being like out of the playoffs.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that will be fixed, but there's not enough good games, and even the games that we get, like we're talking about this, like probably one of these playoff games is going to be a blowout. So it's just kind of it's kind of disappointing. I mean, I think the other problem is that the gap between the really good teams and the bad teams is just widening. So
yeah. Continuing with my theme of grammatical complaints, trickeration is not a word, okay? Trickery, a tricky play, those are grammatically correct words, grammatically correct phrases. Trickeration, not a word. I haven't heard it as much in recent years, but I mean, guys, just come on. Trickery. Oh, they bring out the trickeration. No, they bring out the trickery, okay? They bring out a trick play. Like, come on, guys. Just, don't overcomplicate it. Don't invent words that aren't really words. We need to know what the hell you're talking about. Okay, so just let that fall into the dustbin of history. Okay, trickeration. I don't want to hear that word again.
Yeah, reminds me of when Clark Kellogg used to do the NCAA tournament, and they'd go to the studio, and he'd be like, "This team has really good spurt ability." They have the ability to go on a spurt, to go on a run, to have like a, 15-4 run. He would say this team has very good spurt ability, and it was always kind of like, I think it was cute at first, but then it got old really fast.
That's just a lot of people are going to be watching that. What the hell did that guy just say? Even sports fans are like, what spurt? What the hell is this guy talking about? Yeah, exactly. That's my point. So anyway, what's your next complaint?
The Thursday night NFL games. Look.
Goodbye. Stop. No more.
Right. I would love to get rid of them. I think that would be the best thing to do. But my complaints are multifaceted here. Some of the Thursday night games this year have been pretty good. So this actually isn't a complaint. They used to put, Jacksonville against Houston, again, on Thursday night, and we're just like, oh my God. And some games like this year have been bad. Some of them have not been good. But the quality of play in the games is not debatable. It's not good. Like, these teams are not at their best on Thursday night. I don't know why we keep doing this. And the thing is, like, my criticism, I've had this criticism of the NFL for several years now. Why don't they arrange the bye week in the Thursday night game to have a chance to get the games better? So I was doing some research on this because and they're playing in London. So this has been one of my complaints: is why not give those two teams a bye week before they play on Thursday? So then they get 10 days off before the game and 10 days off after the game.
Yep.
So to me, that seems like, I don't know why they haven't done that. So what I was reading is apparently NFL teams don't like it. They don't want the bye week combined with the Thursday night game. They would rather have that whole bye week and then not play until the next weekend. They feel like they get shorted a bye week, because if you play Sunday and then you play Thursday, where you get that 10 days off, and then you have also a bye week throughout the season. So the teams and the players are not in favor of that. They don't want to do it that way. So I think at some point the NFL needs to go to 2 byes. And that to me solves the issue, because it also, the thing is with the 2 byes is TV networks love it because they get an extra week of showing games. Even if everybody's not playing, they get an extra week. So I was looking up, looked up some schedule scenarios, and the 2 bye week, and then you can make sure you put a bye week before the Thursday night game, is actually a great idea. So, I don't know if the NFL will actually do it, but I understand they're trying to get every bit of TV space they can, but there's a way you can accomplish both goals. And I think the NFL should start doing that. Make all the Thursday night games division games. Give both teams a bye week the week before.
Yeah. Okay. Booing Roger Goodell at the NFL draft. Why? Do you even know what you're booing for? Like, what, is there a specific situation that he handled that you're complaining about, or you're just booing to boo? Like, come on, guys. I mean, booing has to have some, it has to have some meaning behind it, okay? You have to be like booing because you're pissed off at somebody, or like you're at a comedy show and the comedian just sucks. Like, what are you booing about? What does Roger Goodell do wrong at the draft? He just walks up there, announces the name, and then the guy comes on stage, and then he hugs the guy, they hold the jersey, they take the picture, and you move on. What's the problem? Another thing is like cheering in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round for some guy your team picked who there's no way you can play football. Okay. I mean, that's just whatever. But just the booing Roger Goodell, I just don't get it. I mean, come on, guys. Really? Look, I can understand you could be unhappy with some decisions he made about some different things, like Saints fans might be unhappy, or I don't know, any number of other teams, But I mean, it's the draft, dude. Like, do you think the players that are from the college players who are getting picked, do you think they really give a crap? No, they're just excited to be in the league. Like, it doesn't matter and it doesn't matter even what Roger Goodell thinks of them or what they think of Roger Goodell. It's just that moment. It's like you've been dreaming about getting paid to play football your whole life, and you get paid to play football now, and you get to go up on stage and you have a jersey, you get your picture taken with the commissioner of the NFL. Like, it's just cool. We don't need booing. Come on, guys. It's a draft. Come on.
It's true. It should be happy for everybody, because the draft is about hope. That's what that's what the TV product is for the draft. You're selling hope. And so there's no reason to be upset about, now this is the Jets and the Giants fans, they're the ones that are best known for this, because the draft, until now they move it around, but it all used to always be in New York. So those were the fans that were there that would always be booing. And, I think that's a great point. I never understand that. The commissioner comes up to announce the pick. The commissioner isn't coming up there to punish somebody.
Not coming up there to announce a rule change. He's not coming up there to kick somebody out of the league. He's not announcing a suspension. He's just, with the first pick in the NFL draft, the Houston Texans select, whoever.
Yeah, and it's kind of caught on. Like the NBA draft, it's not anywhere near like the NFL draft, but the there's starting to be this, oh, let's boo the commissioner. Like it's cool to boo the commissioner. It's so stupid. All right, so this is my next grievance is the franchise tag in the NFL.
Well, here we go.
I think it's fascist. We need to get rid of it. It's absolute nonsense. So basically, how this works is every team in the league, when your contract expires, they can do this for one player per year. They can basically give you the franchise tag, which means they're keeping you. You know, you have to stay on that team. You can't be a free agent. Now, you do get paid the average of the top 5 players at your position.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what Dak Prescott was doing the last year or whatever. They gave him, he made $35 million and it was all guaranteed. This isn't a money issue. Obviously, the player is going to get a lot of money for that year. But I think it's really unfair that, a guy can play, 5 years, play really well. He wants to go to the open market so he can make as much money as we can because this is America. Okay? That's what America is. It is do the best you possibly can for you and your family. And we have this stupid rule that allows NFL teams to basically hang on to one player, which, so it really bothers me that I think NFL teams have almost all the power in the NFL because they can just cut you. Most guys don't have very much guaranteed money. So the NFL teams get to do a lot of what they want to do. I just think this thing is unfair and it needs to be removed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it's, I'll make an analogy to, this is kind of an odd analogy, but I've heard some criticisms of like couples living together before getting married, because they're basically saying you're delaying the decision about whether or not you two are going to get married by just living together. And, so you might, and if you don't end up getting married, then you may have wasted years just living together when you probably should have just got, either broken up or gotten married, So it's kind of like one of those things with the NFL where like, okay, if you want the guy, pay him. If you don't, he gets to go somewhere else. Okay. You can't just delay the decision with this other thing where, he gets this 1-year contract, but then, he could have potentially gone somewhere else and gotten multiple years and gotten, some guaranteed money over those multiple years. So.
Right. And, guys get injured, especially in football. They get injured all the time. So these guys' careers are finite, man. They may only get that one big contract. And I realize this only affects about, 2% of NFL players. I get it. Okay. This doesn't affect everybody.
Yeah. The other thing is this narrative that all these players are going to be moving around. That's not necessary. That's not like that. There's that narrative in the NBA. That's not really true. Okay. There's a percentage that do move around. There's some in the NFL, there's some players who move around not by choice, but because they got cut by one team and then this other team, offered them a contract. So they're going to move anyway. So the idea that, all these players are just going to move like crazy, it's not really the case. And even in the NBA, it's not really the case. You have some percentage of players that do it, but it's not most of them. Most players are probably going to they probably want to stay where they are. Some of them, if they have an opportunity to move, they might think about it and they might end up leaving. But
Yeah, I think NFL teams have enough power. I don't think this to me seems just a little bit over the top.
Yeah.
What you got next?
Okay, I think this is my last. Well, I got 2 more. I'll do this one. Taking shots at Tom Brady and Steph Curry. Just stop. Okay? Just stop. Okay? Rob Parker, well, Tom Brady's the luckiest of all time. Okay, look. To say that luck didn't play any role in Tom Brady appearing in 10 Super Bowls and winning 7 of them and winning multiple MVPs, and, of course luck played some role. Of course it does. It played a role in Michael Jordan's career, it played a role in Magic Johnson's career, it played a role in LeBron's career. Like, of course, there's some amount of luck. But, I mean, you're just lucky by getting to the Super Bowl 10 fucking times? Like, really? Steph Curry's made it to the finals 5 times. He's won multiple MVPs. He's won a bunch of games. He's hit a bunch of threes. He's had a bunch of good playoff games. Like, if you don't think he's the greatest player of all time, that's fine. I don't think he's that either. But he's the greatest shooter of all time, and he's one of the best players in the league right now. Like, he's really good. Just like, we don't need to like sit there and compare him to whoever. Like, no, I mean, is Kevin Durant better than Steph Curry? I would say yes. But so what? Steph Curry's still really good. We don't need to we don't need to do this thing where we just all right, let's find a way to take shots at somebody who's really good. You don't need to, we don't need to do that. Sometimes there's people deserve to get shots taken at them, but for the most part, you don't need to do that. Just enjoy what you're watching. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, a lot of the thing with Tom Brady is the Patriots, and they just won all the time, so everybody's tired of them, so they're rooting against him, and I can understand some of that. Like, I get some of it, but at the same time, it's like when Tom Brady shows up to the Hall of Fame speech for Peyton Manning, why are you worried about what Tom Brady's doing? Like, it's just, we talked about this when that happened. It's just, that didn't make any sense to me. We're really going to boo Tom Brady when he's not even the center of attention. He has nothing to do with any of this. And the Steph Curry hate, I mean, I don't even know what the problem is. Steph Curry is not winning all the time. Like, they're not winning every year. So what's the problem? I don't understand that.
Put it this way, I could probably think of some teams that would have complaints about Brady, like because he beat them, right? But most of the time, it's not really legitimate. Like, are Atlanta Falcons fans mad at Tom Brady? Yeah, but Kyle Shanahan should have ran the ball twice. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, Eagles fans, are you upset that you lost that Super Bowl when you had Donovan McNabb? You should probably be more mad at Donovan McNabb that he was out of condition. He was thrown up on the field and he couldn't run the hurry up offense in the fourth quarter. Like, I don't understand what you're like. Brady just went out there and played, and he benefited from having the greatest coach of all time coaching him. But I mean, Joe Montana benefited from having Bill Walsh, I mean, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin benefited from being coached by Jimmy Johnson. So, luck plays a role in a lot of things, but I mean, you can't just, he's been to the Super Bowl 10 times. No one's ever done that before. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah. So my next one was, and this definitely applies to this year and future years, having bowl games or college football playoff games on New Year's Eve. Why haven't we figured this out yet? We did this in 2015. The TV ratings tanked. Like, honestly, This is, again goes, I realize this is just a microcosm of college football needs somebody in charge to deal with this because I don't understand why the TV networks are allowing this, that they should be vetoing this anyway. But
because it's a Friday, a lot of people are going to be at work. Why wouldn't you just do this on New Year's Day? It's a day off. Like, everyone's like, come on, guys.
Yeah. They need to do a better job with this. They easily could have done this on the first because, they need to come up with a better solution because this, New Year's Eve bowl games, you're killing your audience. Like, you're literally making it impossible for people to watch. And when you have a year like this year where you have two Midwestern teams in the playoff, this is when you need the audience, and you've screwed it up by putting them on New Year's Eve. So we've got to figure out a better way to do it. Hopefully, expanding the playoff will fix some of that, but it's unconscionable that they're still doing it at this point.
Yeah. All right. My last grievance is selective outrage over college football coaches. Okay. College football coaches can, if they get an opportunity to coach somewhere else, they can leave. I'm fine with it. We went into this a bunch, a few weeks ago, but like, Brian Kelly wanted to leave. Now, the early signing period is the reason why he had to take the job right away at LSU, because you can't wait because you got to be recruiting people. So, I don't understand, there's a way to do this. Well, look, if you want to have a genuine argument about something, for you to say, well, there's a right and a wrong way for a coach to leave a school. Okay, tell me what the right way is. And if you don't tell me what the right way is, then you don't really have a legitimate argument. You're just complaining to complain. Okay. Same thing with Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma. Like, an opportunity comes up, and it's like, well, because of the early signing period, like, if I'm going to take this, I got to take this now. For recruiting purposes, and the other schools, they can't wait around. If you wait around, you're going to miss out on recruits in 1 year, and then you'll be bad. You could be bad the next year. So, guys. Like, and the other thing is, do you think the people at LSU are complaining? No. Do you think the people at USC are complaining? No, they're happy about it. Because remember, it's always okay if the guy who leaves comes to your school. Okay, which means it's totally disingenuous for other people to be pissed off. Because if the same thing happened and you got the coach, no one would be complaining. So,
Yeah.
that is out my list of grievances. So, for all the things I had grievances about, get it together, guys. Come on.
All right. I got a bunch more. I'll run through these real quick.
Okay.
I think the playoffs should be expanded in baseball and college football.
Okay.
Again, goes back with my argument: more playoff games, less regular season games.
Give me more.
That's right. Give me more of the good stuff. That's what it is. Give me the more of what's the best. When you go to a restaurant, I want more of what the best selections on your menu is. I'm not into. I don't want to just eat a bunch of appetizers.
Well, it's like the really virtuoso guitar player you probably never heard of, Yngwie Malmsteen, had a quote where basically, how there's that idea of less is more. Well, his response to that was no, more is more. So more is more.
Yeah, more is not better. More is just more. 7-game series in the first round of the playoffs. This specifically applies to the NBA. We really don't need it. I know that they want the TV money for the extra games, but those extra games never get played because most of the first round series are garbage. So we need, and plus, people do get fatigue from the NBA playoffs going 2 months long. Now, listen, I love basketball, so I don't really care. I would watch the playoffs as long as they went on. But we don't need 7 games in the first round.
You don't want to be risking losing the best players.
It's outgrown its usefulness. I'm going to get this in here. So, people who hate soccer haters, okay? You people that act like, soccer's not that big a deal and it doesn't matter that much and we don't care about it.
Interesting. No one really cares. All these people who say they like it are lying. I've heard that before.
Yeah, honestly, people, you need to just get over it.
Look, here's the thing. If you don't like soccer, fine, don't watch it. It's like me. I don't like college basketball. I don't watch it.
Yeah.
Just get on with your life. There's other stuff to watch. Who cares?
Yeah, but I will plug for soccer now. Let me tell you something. I've been watching the Premier League the last couple of years in the Champions League. It's fantastic. It has every bit as much drama, if not more, than our sports do. And they're fascinating because these teams have no problem just cutting people loose and moving on from guys at a moment's notice. If you're halfway through a season as a coach and your team stinks, you get fired, and there ain't no apologies. There's no, we should have given this guy a better chance. Like, no, he's gone. This guy's coming in. End of discussion. Like, it's not even really, they don't even really worry about it. So it makes me laugh when American fans get mad now at their players leaving or moving around because it's not even close to what soccer does. Soccer is bottom line, you better win or you're out. That's how it works. And they do not care, we played well, and even though we lost, doesn't matter to them. So it's one of the things I really appreciate about soccer. It goes back to the root of sports, which if I were to sum up sports, it comes down to wins and losses. If you win, you can do whatever the hell you want. If you don't win, it's the great equalizer. It comes down to that. You can spend out whatever money, you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. If you win, that's great. If you don't win, we're not interested in you.
Yep.
Preseason games. This really needs to be gotten rid of. We don't need preseason games in football. We really don't need them in basketball. I know teams do them just to kind of get guys some run
but you could do that. You could do that with scrimmages, right? They already do scrimmages now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to get rid of the preseason games. I understand NFL owners are money grubbing.
I've kind of had this thought for years now that they should make the minor leagues in baseball smaller because my opinion is if you can play, you can play. If you can't, do something else. Like I kind of like with the preseason in the NFL. It's like you can pretty much tell right away when somebody can play. If someone's like they're struggling to get on offense or defense, but they can play on special teams, you kind of know right away. Like they can go out there and hit somebody, or they can tackle somebody, and it's like, okay, you got a shot to make the roster. Like,
and NFL teams don't care about it. You can see now because there's more teams now that don't play anybody in the preseason because there's no point in getting anybody hurt, and the season's so darn long now. Why would you waste time with these 3 preseason games? So I think they need to. I think they should just get rid of it altogether.
Yeah, and when you play these preseason, it's not like you're going to reveal a lot of what you're doing. You're going to run very vanilla stuff, and just even if you play the guys that actually are going to play during the season, so it's kind of useless. Do some practice, some scrimmages.
Yeah. Fans' behavior at games. I talked earlier this season. I went to a game with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills in Kansas City, and I got to applaud the Kansas City fans and all the people that were there because they were very well behaved. It was not like I've been to several NFL games in my life, but I haven't been to one in a while. It's been several years. And the last Dolphins game I went to, I just could not believe the fans' behavior. It was out of control. People fighting, people just drunk, people just, out of control. And you can go on YouTube and go to the New York Giants games, the New York Jets games, or Philadelphia Eagles games, and the fans are completely out of control.
Well, and remember, we both live in South Florida, which means if you guys don't know this, a lot of people from New York or the Northeast come down here to live. They move from up north and live down here, and then they go to our games. Okay, and then during the games, a lot of times they're like the loudest fans there. Okay, so yeah, they do that there. Then they come down here, and then they act the same way here. So yeah, it's
Yeah. All right. So a couple more. I think the way we're protecting quarterbacks has gone to a whole new ridiculous level. You can't even tackle the quarterback now. I mean,
you tackle like he throws the ball and then you tackle him a split second later. If you drive him into the ground, okay, you shouldn't do that. But if you just tackle him a split second after he releases the ball, it's a penalty. So,
yeah, there was a play in the Dolphins-Saints game where, Tua throws the ball. The defender's already on the ground, so he reaches over to grab Tua's legs to tackle him, and they called roughing the passer. Well, you can't hit the quarterback low. It's like, what exactly are we supposed to do here? Like, I understand, yes, the hits that, like, you go look on YouTube, go look at 1980s NFL. These quarterbacks aren't getting hit anywhere near the way that they used to be. So we need to slow down on this. We're bailing bad offenses and bad quarterbacks out by giving them these crappy penalties where a guy jumps up to hit the ball and happens to hit the guy in the helmet. I mean,
I think there should be some level of discretion with the officials.
Yeah,
but again, from their perspective. I do understand it's kind of tough to see in the moment exactly what happened. The thing with him on the ground, like, okay, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, in soccer, they review calls like that, where it's a red card. Somebody goes back and reviews it, and they make sure that that's the call that they want. I think they need to probably do that in the NFL when it comes to targeting or when it comes to roughing the passer or illegal hits. I think they need to kind of fix that. All right, yeah, that's all I had. I didn't have anything else pressing, but, if that's not enough.
More grievances next year. So
that's right. That's right. Plenty of grievances to go around.
Yeah. All right. So happy Festivus, everybody.
That's right.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. Happy. Next time we do this will be after, what day is today? Wednesday. Okay. Yeah. It'll be after the college football games and the NFL games. So yeah. Fun times.
All right, folks. Well, look forward to the games. Look forward to seeing you in 2022.
2022.